Remember the Flintstones?
Yes, I do.
You knew them personally?
Personally, no, I'm not.
Because they're kind of like ancient, you know?
Yeah, they're little cave people.
You could even say they're prehistoric.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Even though we have good historic documentation on them. Well, they got a song. It's called the Flintstones song, I guess. I don't know. It's called Theme Song. That's what Lyric Genius tells me. And I want to read y'all the lyric here to the Flintstones song because I find it fascinating, Kris.
Okay.
I find it fascinating. I find it intellectually stimulating.
I want to know what part of this has got you so captivated.
All right. The first part's all right. Yabba dabba doo.
Oh, love that. Love that.
Yeah, whatever that means. Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones. They're the modern Stone Age family.
Okay. Modern Stone Age
From
family.
From the town of Bedrock. They're a page route out of history. Let's ride with the family down the street through the courtesy of Fred's 2 feet. Because he would.
Yeah, because he like pedals the car.
Doesn't even pedal it. He just pushes it with his feet.
He does like a little like run and then he lifts his feet and then it keeps going.
Yeah.
That's how he does it in the cartoon.
Momentum. Exactly. When you're with the Flintstones, have a yabba dabba do time, a dabba do time. We'll have a gay old time.
Hey!
We're going to have a gay time, Kris.
Yes.
Well, hold on. A gay old time.
Oh.
Not a gay new time. We'll have a gay old time. Kris, do you think they had Pride Month back in the Stone Age?
I mean, I wish, but probably not.
Yeah, I would say definitely not.
Definitely not.
But unlike the Flintstones, see, they're the modern Stone Age family. We are the modern family. Wait, no, we're not.
No, we're not.
That's the TV show. We're just modern people, right? We do have a Pride Month, though. Mm-hmm. And is it in July when this is releasing originally?
Nope, it was last month in June.
It was in June. We missed it because we were busy doing other stuff.
Like going to Pride.
Yeah. But I you know what? I think that maybe we need to talk about Pride Month. That's something that we haven't done yet in the Tau Slopes podcast.
I'm excited.
And we talk a lot about LGBTQ plus stuff, but we haven't talked about this.
Yeah. So this will be fun.
Yes, it will be because Kris, I say this because we talk also quite a bit about conservative perspectives on this show. Mm-hmm. And I feel like whenever June rolls around, at least this is how it's been for a little while now, there is some kind of true anger and angst coming from the conservative camp about June.
Yeah, people don't like June anymore. At least not if they're conservative.
I mean, I don't like the heat.
I mean, I don't like the heat either.
But there's a lot of good stuff that happens in
stuff.
June. You know?
I love Pride Month. It's great.
Well, Kris, I'm straight. Mm-hmm. And but I do have
love
a little...
that for you.
Thanks. The savory substance today is Pride Month. Kris, can you drop some knowledge on us?
About Pride Month?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm just clarifying.
What a dope transition.
Yes, beautiful.
Into Pride Month. No, seriously though, I think that there's a lot of ignorance when it comes to Pride Month. And again, particularly from the conservatives, but even from other people that may not just necessarily understand what it is, why it is, and how come we should all be tuned into it.
I honestly really enjoyed doing some research on this topic because there was some stuff that I learned myself and I thought that was fun.
That's
so
sweet.
We are going to start with the Merriam-Webster definition of pride because as you know, growing up as Christians, there's a very distinct definition of pride that is associated, and that's typically supposed to be very bad, very sinful.
But none of the Christians are ever guilty of it.
Oh, no, of course not. Of course not.
So I would go so far as to say maybe they don't have a good grasp on what it actually is, but go ahead.
No, but then you do hear the arguments that, pride is sinful. Like, why are you having a whole month of pride?
Always. Every Pride Month, you see some Christians say the exact same thing and think that they're completely clever. It's like, pride is a sin and the Bible says so.
But the pride of Pride Month is a little bit
how they call this
different
pride.
than the sinful type of pride that is
No, they know
being
that.
talked about. Right.
They know that.
I hope so. But anyway, let's read this definition here. So if you look up the definition of pride, you will find both definitions in the dictionary, which is awesome.
That's what the dictionary does. It tells us the meaning of words. And it turns out that sometimes words have more than one meaning, Kris.
Wow.
Incredible.
Anyways, pride in this context means respect and appreciation for oneself and others as members of a group, and especially a marginalized group. Solidarity with a group based on shared identity, history, and experience. So already right off the bat, you can see that Pride Month is all about people having a shared experience historically and coming together to celebrate that. So,
Which that sounds good.
which, yeah, sounds great.
Yes.
But I mean, okay, that's very simple definitions. Let's look into what pride is and how it came to be.
Okay, doke.
Let's do it. Little history moment here. So, my understanding was always that the Stonewall riots were where the foundation of pride was set up.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's going on here? You said Stonewall.
Stonewall.
Stonewall, though.
Yeah.
Huh? What is that?
So Stonewall.
Hook us up.
Stonewall Inn is where this word is coming from. And Stonewall Inn was a popular gay bar in New York City. The gay bars were still criminalized because being gay was still criminalized in 1969. So comes to find out
Wait a minute. That wasn't even that long ago.
Nope.
What the heck?
It's crazy, right? But a lot of these bars were owned by mafia members because being gay was still already criminalized. And from what I was reading in the Library of Congress, as long as these mafias were doing well financially, sometimes they were just left alone.
Yeah.
But there were police raids about once every month, at least, in this bar particular, and others in the area. And
Raiders got a raid, right?
I guess so.
Raiders got a raid, folks.
And so for this particular event, June 28, 1969, there was a police raid in the Stonewall Inn, and a bunch of employees and patrons were dragged out of the inn. And over the next 6 days, there were a bunch of uprisings and protests about this police brutality. Mm-hmm. And that sparked activism for the LGBTQ plus community. Come to find out, a year later, 1970, the very first Pride happens on the year anniversary of Stonewall. And I think that's beautiful.
Oh, 1970.
1970.
Okay, so that wasn't that long ago, but it's also been some time that has passed since, right?
It's been 54 years this year, which is kind of crazy, but it's also not that long ago when you think about it.
Yeah, but this just didn't happen like within the past decade.
No.
I don't know.
It's been going on for a while.
I feel like to hear some conservative Christians talk about pride, they're like, we've never seen this before.
Right.
Where did all these gay and queer people come
Like,
from?
what
They
is
don't
this
call
new
them that, but
information?
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, oh, no, y'all just don't know.
Right. Please do your research. We will provide links in the show notes, as always.
Linkage. Are these veggie links, Kris?
Veggie links? Do people even know what veggie links are?
I mean, probably not.
Vegetarian hot dogs.
They're very popular from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. From
Very
whence we
popular.
come. Like, in fact, it's a sacrament. You must
and haystacks.
eat. Yes, in order to receive salvation from the Lord. And actually, I had some veggie links a couple weeks ago.
Good for you.
They were very small. Shrinkflation.
Oh.
Yes.
I was always a Big Frank fan.
Big Franks, yes,
Yeah.
they have shrunk as well.
Oh.
Mid Franks.
Mid Franks. That's hilarious.
Okay, let's get away from the economics here and back into Pride Month. So, Kris, one of the things that I hear a lot, why is this important? Why are we doing this? Why do they have to shove it in our faces, Kris? Why is this important at all?
Well,
What say you?
What say you? I think
As a raging gay, by
gay.
your own admission.
I think there's two sides you can look at here, and that's from people who are part of the queer community and people who are not part of the queer community. So there's benefits to both sides.
There's probably some differences there, but also some similarities, I'd imagine.
Yeah. So the top post I see every Pride Month, at least for the last 3-4 years, has been this. Pride is important because someone still believes they're better off dead than out of the closet. And I think that's just such a beautiful and powerful statement that summarizes why Pride is so important. Because it's true. A lot of people think that it's better to not exist as themselves or not exist at all if they can't be themselves than to just exist. And that's so sad. But Pride is also a time to celebrate how much progress each individual has made in their own journey with themselves. So a lot of queer people have to fight not only with society's perception of how they are in relation to others in society, whether that's, oh, you're pushing this on me, or you're being a terrible person and you're being a criminal, blah, blah, blah. Or it's just being gay is a sin. And that already is hard enough to deal with, hearing from a lot of external factors.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community, you have to deal with personal people in your life telling you that it's not okay, or telling you that they wished it was different. And it's really hard to navigate that all at once, along with your own negative perceptions of yourself. So it's kind of a multi-layer thing where you have to fight a lot of the times to get to a place where you're happy and okay existing as a person of the LGBTQIA plus community. And that's something that I don't think is considered enough, is that it's a beautiful time to see people who have been in a similar situation as you and who have gone through a lot to try to be at a place mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever, where they are happy to be themselves.
Yeah.
As for everyone else in Pride Month, you might think, oh, I'm not part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Why should Pride matter?
That's me.
What, Justin?
I am straight.
What do you know?
Can I get no Pride Month?
No, you can definitely participate.
I can't have Pride Month? Nice.
For everyone else, it's a time to think about Pride in a way that isn't thought about every other month. You know, it's one of those things where you have a holiday and it gives you the chance to look at someone else's perspective. It gives you a chance to understand why people struggle with a certain type of thing. And that could be anything from February being Black History Month, trying to trying to understand the experience of POC individuals, or Mental Health Awareness Month, trying to understand mental health struggles. Pride Month is about trying to understand why Pride is important. And even if you're not part of the LGBTQIA plus community, it still gives you a chance to pause and think about something that you wouldn't typically think about, if nothing else.
And I would say, and this is from my experience, is that you have this kind of influx of resources that they are demonstrated to maybe perhaps more people than usual. Now, again, that's interpreted often by, oh, well, you're shoving it in our face. And, you know, you can interpret that as you will, but I would say, just like you were saying, every other month or holiday where awareness is being created or visibility is occurring, you could take that as an opportunity to learn something.
Right. If nothing else, even as a Christian, you're supposed to be learning how to love people more like Jesus and love and understand people better. And Pride is a perfect time to see, hey, I don't understand this group of people, or hey, this is some type of marginalized group that the church doesn't typically accept. Why? How can I be a better Christian? How can I be more loving? How can I respond to these individuals like Jesus would? So even from a Christian standpoint, it offers a really beautiful time to be more like Jesus.
The job of the Christian theoretically should be to know the people around you on a more intimate level.
Right. Does this happen? No, most of the time it doesn't. But that's
Generally
what it
speaking,
should
no.
be.
Yeah.
And I do think one other thing, especially the way the social climate has been changing so much just in the last few months towards LGBTQ plus individuals, specifically the trans and non-binary community. Pride Month has been a really important time to rethink why core values are what they are and try to understand why a lot of people in the community, especially the trans and non-binary community right now, are begging for help.
Well, Kris, I want to know right now, what is your experience with Pride Month been like?
I love Pride Month. I cannot lie. I have only been to Pride for about, maybe 3 years now. That's kind of sad.
Now, when you say you've been to Pride, you mean like events?
Pride events.
Pride events,
yes.
Okay.
So during Pride Month, in case someone
I've only experienced 3 Junes recently.
No, in case someone doesn't know, there's Pride Month, and then during Pride Month, there are Pride events.
Yes.
Where there are typically gatherings in a specific area.
Also referred to as Pride.
As Pride, yes.
Yeah, so they're kind of interchangeable.
Yes. So I went to my first Pride event 3 years ago, I believe. Yeah, 3 years ago. And it was the most beautiful experience I had. At the time, I was still a member of the SDA church, and I was really struggling with accepting myself. But I remember going to Pride and it was the only time I could be in a crowd of people that I had no idea who they were. Never seen them before. They don't know who I am. And I felt safe.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. And that's something consistently that happens, at least for me, during Pride. Anytime I go, I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. There's so many people here who get it, who understand, who have fought to be here.
Yeah.
And even in terms of Christianity, there was this group that came to my first Pride, and they posted a wall of sticky notes saying, what would you like to hear from church? Or what would you like to hear from God? And there were sticky notes saying, God loves you and you're not a mistake. And reading that as someone who was still Christian, trying to accept their identity, that was so powerful and beautiful, because I was like, wow, someone here actually wants me to be okay. And not just okay with my identity, but okay with being alive and existing despite how specifically church tries to tell LGBTQ plus individuals they don't belong. Mm-hmm. And that was just my very first experience. I've met some really awesome people during Pride Month. It's beautiful going around to the different booths and talking to them and their experiences. And it doesn't seem to matter how little you know them. The booth members are there for you. They have your back. Mm-hmm. And they're willing to help you figure out resources you need if you need them.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome.
My experience with Pride, the events, is not exactly the same because I'm straight. So when I would go to a Pride event, I myself feel liberated to be who I am.
Yeah.
Not necessarily certainly in my gender, my sexuality, and all that, like, because I'm the status quo or whatever. But like even down to how I might want to dress,
yes,
or how I might want to present myself,
yeah,
or even like you were mentioning, just knowing that I share similar ideologies with people around me, and I don't know that I have ever felt as free and safe and not judged.
Yes.
Then in that time and in that place. And I would include all of my church experiences.
Right.
In that.
I think along those lines, even if you're not part of the LGBTQ plus community, being at Pride, there seems to be, at least to my understanding, the people who I've gone to Pride with and who I've talked to at Pride, there's a deeper understanding of gender and sexuality in general, because a lot of these people have had to learn about it. So it feels safer in a lot of ways, because you're not as automatically sexualized based on your appearance.
Right, yeah.
Because people there know that it's more than appearance.
There's nuance.
Yeah. And just having that is so nice because you can go and be yourself and not be afraid of someone automatically judging you.
Not like church. That's exactly it. And that's one of the things that if you've listened to Tal Slope's podcast at all, you know that we are just at our wits' end, Avengers Nazi, with the conservative Christianity is that they lack nuance to have conversations that, first of all, would deepen understanding in anything, but also help to protect people and help to actually move towards justice and equality.
Right.
And so when I go to a pride event, I know that fundamentally that's where they're coming from, versus when I go to, again, a conservative church, I know that they want me to love Jesus or something. I don't, it could be anything, or not wear that thing because that's not good, or you got to XYZ if you want to be.
I love that. Not really, but I think it was funny the way you said it. This reminds me of a TikTok audio that was around a little bit ago. It's not very popular anymore, but essentially this audio is describing two people giving orders at a coffee shop, and the first individual gives this very, very specific order that they want for their coffee. And they're like, oh, I want like a mocha frappe with just enough room so it doesn't spill when I put in the coffee ice, or something like I can't remember exactly what it is, but essentially it's very specific. And then the server asks the other person, well, what do you want? And they're like, I just want tea. Like, okay, what kind of tea? And they're like, just tea. And that seems very strange and random in this situation, but this is kind of how it is having conversations about gender and sexuality with people. At Pride, you can have that really nuanced conversation about the depth and understanding of your identity, because a lot of people there have done the work and the research and understand it. And because they've had to.
Yeah.
But then you go to have a conversation with people who have not done the research and the work and don't understand the nuance.
And are privileged enough to have had that experience.
Yes. And then they're asking you questions about your sexuality and gender, and you're just like, I'm going to give you the most basic answer I can, because that's already going to be a fight.
Yeah. That's what makes me so frustrated with so many of these particularly conservative Christians when it comes to Pride Month is their first instinct is not, you know what, for better or for worse, I'm going to get educated on the matter. Their first instinct is, I got to post a meme so hateful.
Oof. That's very true.
Yeah, I mean that's how those are the optics, at least.
Right.
Whenever Pride Month rolls, or whenever June rolls around, it's like, oh, summer's starting and something else is starting.
It's so sad to me that it's easier for certain individuals to be angry and post something hateful right off the bat instead of taking the time to be like, okay, why is this bothering me so much? I think ultimately Pride is about learning how to love and accept yourself. And that should be something that's beautiful and very Christian oriented, honestly. Pride in this context isn't doing something where you're so full of yourself that you're hurting other people.
Right. Which would be the bad pride
that
the Bible
is talking about.
Don't be so in yourself that you, and this is ironic, but you don't care. That's all it is. That's all it is. And obviously, when the Bible says that, the Bible is right.
Right.
I don't agree with everything that's in the Bible, obviously.
But if
anybody listening to this show knows that, but the Bible nailed that one, I think.
I will 100% accept that. If you're doing something that hurts someone else, it's a problem. But Pride Month and Pride events, June is not about being so full of yourself that you're hurting someone else. It's about loving yourself in a way that allows you to exist and be content and happy and help other people be happy with themselves. And that's it. It's about learning to love yourself. And that should be a good celebrated thing.
But Kris, Jesus doesn't want you to love yourself.
No.
Oh, wait a minute.
Says who? That doesn't make sense.
Well, says not Jesus, that's for sure.
Right.
Isn't that whole like commandment like love your neighbor as you love yourself?
Yeah.
Isn't that not implicitly
exactly.
a command to love yourself?
I think that if there are Christians who don't understand the difference in even just the word use of pride between Pride Month and the biblical sense of pride, have probably never had to fight to show themselves what loving looks like and being themselves unapologetically.
That's a great point.
And not only being themselves unapologetically, but actually being hated and marginalized because of it.
Yeah.
They don't seem to understand that.
They think that they're the victims. This goes back to like our Ted Wilson series we did where like, oh, I'm going to get canceled. It's like, no, you're not.
No, you're not. You're not actually hated.
You are the
like,
powerful. Exactly. You're the status quo.
It just reminds me right before we started this podcast, what I was talking to you about.
No.
About intersectionality.
Oh.
And
I do remember that.
As a Christian, I unfortunately was not able to question a lot of things. And I grew up being in a very privileged position without realizing I was in a very privileged position. Not something I'm very proud of. I'm working very hard to get better at that. But the point is, coming out to myself ended up being really beautiful because I was able to take that and say, oh my goodness, there's this area of my life that I'm, part of a marginalized group, and it's really hard and really painful. And if this is how I feel about this one thing, how do other people feel when they have layer upon layer upon layer of hatred stacked up against them? And that's also something that's really beautiful about Pride. It gives you the opportunity to think about people who have had it harder in life and who are not as privileged as you are. And I am very privileged even as a queer individual because, I'm white, but using my identity to remember that other people have different experiences and a lot of times worse experience than I do is a way that I can personally use Pride to educate myself. And I think a lot of other queer individuals do that same thing. I hope everyone does that, but I can't safely say that.
But your education is, you're going to use that not just to make your life better, but to make the lives of other people better.
Right, which I think is inherently a very Christian thing to do.
Like, again, that's the most Christian thing to do, right?
Right.
Love others as you love yourself.
The point is pushing yourself to understand people better.
Yeah.
However that looks, whether that's education or listening, just as long as you're trying to learn and grow as an individual.
Generally, that is difficult to do if you can't do it for yourself.
Exactly.
I've found like people that are very reflective and think deeply about who they are. Think deeply about who they are, not superficially.
When you're forced to look at yourself from every single angle, you have to start thinking about other people too.
Yes. Well, I think that's like an exercise in empathy, if nothing else. Or exercising your empathy, perhaps.
But guess what? That's not limited to LGBTQIA plus individuals. Conservatives, you can do that too.
Right. Well, thank you for that, Kris. I don't know why it came out that way.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But seriously, that was really informative. That was really good. I hope that somebody out there listening who maybe has had some mixed feelings about Pride Month got something from that that has helped them grow, or if that hasn't occurred, that at least we are more knowledgeable about overall what Pride is, but also what your experience is as somebody who is part of the community, and my experience as someone who is not.